I'm Karen Butler with UPI. It's so nice to meet you both. This is a great film. I enjoyed it so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
Since it's mostly the two of you on screen together for the entire movie, how did you establish the relationship and the trust and know each other, know that you had each other's backs?
Honestly, I mean, he's so easy to have chemistry with. It was beyond easy for us. It kind of just feels like we were meant to meet and meant to do this together in a weird way.
Yeah. I mean, we both met kind of hitting the ground running on set, and so we were both on the same journey. We were both kind of thrust into it at the same time, and we hadn't met before. And so, you know, we both really wanted the relationship to feel really real and grounded and special and like couples that we know in real life. And yeah.
I think there's a lot of care put into it, and I think because we both came at it with a lot of care, and we both had an innate ability to trust each other, which I think is, you know, really helpful.
Yeah.
The authenticity just kind of like came out. And also, I like genuinely love him as a human, so it makes it very easy.
And you know, she was like taking such an active like leadership role throughout the whole project, and so it kind of made it easier to kind of lean in and trust her on some things that like were not really in my jurisdiction. So I was like, all right, you take it, and then she would take care of it, and very much how Maya does in the movie, where it's like they kind of have their corners of things that they're good at and things that they're not so good at, and so they know when to like switch it off to the other person, you know.
Hello, my name is Russ Milheim from The Direct. Congratulations on the movie. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I have a big question for you. A lot of fans have kind of been vocal about their worry with the films kind of explaining more about the strangers themselves, as a lot of people feel the inherent terror behind them is that they don't really have a reason. So what would you say to those fans that hold those worries?
I would start by saying watch the movies before you come to conclusions, because although we are kind of promising more answers, we're not answering everything. We all, as the filmmakers and the actors, understand that the innate terror of the movies is that we don't really know much about them or why. So some questions will be answered, of course, to get more of a window into the machinations of the strangers, but we're not going to lose the innate terror that is so visceral within the original. Like, we're aware of it.
All right, Tom Chase for Playing Cool. Wonderful movie, guys. You both were wonderful, great. My question is, how is your previous experience in horror help mold your performances in the film?
Wouldn't you say Cruel Summer was kind of like a horror?
Yeah. I think I've also done like a horror film before. I did a slasher in like 2019.
Oh, I need to see.
Yeah, and then I did Teen Wolf, which is adjacent, and Cruel Summer, and Hocus Pocus 2, which is spooky adjacent. But yeah, I think like some of the smartest people and people I look up to creatively the most in my life are such horror fans, like such avid horror fans. And so like for me personally, I didn't grow up loving the genre because I'm so skittish. So I've kind of learned to appreciate the genre and love it more and more, like through the people that I've worked with in my career. And yeah, and now I'm such like a horror fan. Like I just like played Outlast, the video game, which is a horror game that's like first person, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, what about you?
I feel like the thing that's helped me the most with having had previous horror experiences in my career is stamina. Like, it's so, like, to be a horror actor is, like, you have to have a lot of stamina in more ways than one. And so I think over the course of my career, I've been able to build up my stamina to now be able to carry, 3 films in 52 days of shooting with the stamina that I had kind of practiced, especially on a show like Riverdale, where it's like you're just running around, screaming and doing crazy shit all the time.
Hello, my name is Marco. I represent We Got Discovered. I would like to ask a little bit about the sequels. How are the whole crew thinking about the tone change of the chapters 2 and chapters 3? How these 2 next movies are going to be different from the first one?
Yeah, the first chapter of our saga is a retelling of the original film that is so beloved, included by me, in order to be a launchpad into a much larger story that we wanted to tell based off of the 2008 version, where it's like, Liv Tyler's eyes open, then what? And so I guess to us, we were like, let's decide then what in our universe, and let's answer that question in a fun way that has nothing to do with that universe of the original Strangers. So Tonally, the shift continues to happen. It becomes a lot more of a character study on, a person continuously pushed past their breaking point and, being left with whatever version of themselves they are left with at the end. And also, while their mental health is deteriorating at the same time. So the tone does continue to shift through the 3 films.
Hey guys, Junior Felix with that hashtag show. I love this film. It was nerve-wracking and frightening. What was your favorite page-to-screen moment that was in the film? Because there are you guys had a lot of scenes together throughout the whole film. Was there anything in particular that you guys were like, how are we going to pull this off on screen, and it got pulled off?
Ooh, for me it has to be the crawl space sequence with the rats and the nail and like the kind of slow pan up through the floorboards of the house. I just thought that was so cool. It was way beyond any expectations I could have had reading it on the page. Yeah, and Mads just killed it in that scene and made me so concerned for her hand.
I second that. That was a perfect answer.
No.
I'm Tessa with MamasGeeky. Thank you guys. I was terrified this whole movie. I absolutely loved it. And I'm going to ask you guys because I really do love the original, and I feel like we're watching a different movie. It doesn't feel like you're rewatching the same movie, which I think is important. So can you talk about the importance of making it unique?
Yeah, I think like all the filmmakers, myself included, and Froy as well after he booked it, like we were all such great fans of the original, and like that's not something that needs to be remade. Like it is perfect the way it is, and so we wanted to breathe fresh life into it in a modernization. And really, the whole point of this first film is to create the new, like the world that we want to build into for 2 and 3. So it is quite different, and I appreciate that you acknowledge that. We have a lot of homage pieces because, of course, like these people who loved the original, myself included, want to be heard and seen and want to see pieces that excite them and are like Easter eggs to them. But I think we breathe a new life into it. The characters are vastly different in their personalities and their choices that they make. But there are also pieces that are very, exactly what you saw in the original, which is kind of why we are calling it a retelling.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like the silhouette is very much the same, but like the way that it's filled in is entirely different. Like the relationship dynamic is different, and the choices
Yeah.
and the cinematography feels different as well, and the action is also very different. So I think we kind of set out being like, it was already done the best way it could be done in this shape, so we're gonna try like a different form.
Pat from Pop Culture with Pat. Great to meet you, Madelaine and Froy. You made this work and very happy watching this film.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask you guys, as far as how did you just prepare for the emotional journey that both your characters go on in this film? Because obviously going from celebrating an anniversary to be running for your lives in a matter of a couple hours, how did you just kind of prepare for that? Where it's like obviously Matt was very taxing mentally, but also a very physical role as well.
I think I just kind of hit the ground running, and I was like, it's gonna be stressful, it's gonna be adrenaline filled, and there's really no 2 ways around it, really. You just kind of have to show up and be present, and like my main challenge was making sure that I was grounded, making sure like, yeah, I'm fighting for survival, but what does survival mean to Ryan? And to Ryan, that means like making sure that Maya's at peace, making sure that he's safe with Maya, just making it so much more about the relationship than about the horror of it. And from there, like the terror kind of is a very natural reaction. It's a very natural side effect. And yeah, the whole time that we were shooting, I was very adrenaline filled. I didn't sleep very well for that duration of time, but I kind of went into it being like, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna feel pretty high stakes for a while, but that's part and parcel with the job.
What about you, Madeline?
I did so much script work prior to shooting that by the time I came into shooting, I felt so sewn within the fabric of the story that I was able to almost release everything I had worked on and allow myself to just be present in the moment. And also, I lived in a constant state of fight or flight for the entire shoot. So, we both were like not sleeping much.
Something that's changed since 2008 is the popularity of places like Airbnb apps. So do you think that this will hit differently, hit viewers differently, because it is so plausible that you would rent a house from a stranger in the woods, and like you don't know who's in there or what's going on?
Yeah.
I think that's the hope.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and also like not even just Airbnbs, but like the place where you live, if you're like renting or if it's a short term or a long term, or if you like own the house, it's become so much more of a day-to-day character in everybody's lives since 2008, since the pandemic, and we work from home more often now, and it's so much scarier, I think, to think about that place being violated. You know.
We've talked about, how this is a retelling and not, just shot by shot of the original. But when making this movie, were there any bits that you specifically wanted to not recreate, that you wanted to keep as part of the original and not go anywhere near?
Nothing is coming to mind. I mean, I think it was very important to us that it didn't come off as a remake and that we were doing the original fans justice. But outside of that, there was no one moment that I'm like, man, I really don't want us to go to the swings outside, or man, I really don't want us to like be crawling on the floor. Like it was whatever serviced the story best, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
So working with a veteran director like Rennie Harlan, just kind of wondering, he has extensive action background and has done some horror. How do you feel that working with him on set and how he treated material, and is there any comparison to how the original was shot, you felt when you were filming?
I mean, Rennie is just such a legend that, a lot of these scenes we shot in like 1-2 takes,
Which is crazy behavior.
Which is really crazy behavior. I mean, especially when you're shooting 3 movies at once, you want to keep it moving, and Rennie definitely kept it moving in the best way because he was able to like nail it the first go around, and it just kind of let us feel more taken care of. And I think he also paid attention to like letting the shots kind of linger and letting the shots breathe, and kind of curating the ambiance of the space itself, of what the cabin feels like as a character.
But I also don't want to discredit like Brian Bertino. The 2008 original was like he made such strong and visceral choices that I think we wanted to lean into more. Like we were very inspired by his filmmaking choices. So I think that if anything, it was more of like an inspiration that Brian brought to Rennie and us.
What was most challenging during the production? Because you were shooting 3 movies at the same time, and it was not shot in order of view. And then Froy had to get in for only 1 movie in the middle of all the scales. What was most challenging for you both?
Honestly, the hardest part for me it wasn't keeping track of where my character was. If I can credit myself on one thing, it's I'm a fantastic note taker. So I had like the craziest binder of notes that you saw.
Yeah.
I look like a crazy person, but it really does help me when I'm working. The hardest part for me was the lack of sleep, and also after we were done shooting every day, I would sit with Courtney and Rennie and be like, okay, let's talk about what we did. How can we evolve the story further? And I would sit and rewrite scenes with them after the day was over. So it like shortened my my window for sleep, and also it was like turning my brain on after a long day of my brain being on as a different person. That was probably the most challenging thing.
Yeah, and Mads in particular was like balancing the role of an actor with the role of a producer as well. She was very much taking charge like as a leader, as like as someone who was like taking charge of the schedule and rewriting the scripts and like helping with the set design and everything, and also functioning as like an actor in that capacity. So like I can't imagine how you dealt with all of those moving parts. But no, I feel like I had a really easy job of it in a way.
Oh my God, no, you did not. You had to be jumped. You were dropped. Let's be honest. You were dropped into the middle of a 3-film saga right in the middle of the shoot and had to just like jump straight into action.
But I just, I had like 90 pages. I was like, I did my notes and I was like, I'm so glad I don't have to worry about number 2 or 3.
90 pages is a lot of work. You crazy person.
I mean, compared to 2 90 pages, I'll take those. I'll take the 90 for sure.
You're selling yourself short. It was a hard job. You had a very hard job to be dropped in the middle of all of that.
For sure, but it was definitely humbling to be like, oh, and she's got 3 movies to deal with. I can go chill out for a bit.
If this was any examples of what the next 2 is going to be like, you're going to be spring from the mountain if you know this. But were there any scream queens that you took examples of for Maya, like for this film? Because I mean, there's pieces of, I see Jamie Lee Curtis in there. I see just different actresses. Yeah, I know.
That's really cool. Thank you.
I'm telling you, I was next to somebody and she was screaming with you. So
That's so cool. You know, I think that I am like every part of me is a piece of a film that I've loved and I've indulged myself in. I'm such a cinephile, and so like I do believe that my performances always are based on like a million performances I've seen and my own intuition, but like no one specifically for this. I obviously like have seen the 2008 original 30 or so times just of my own volition, like that had nothing to do with booking this movie. So like I think there's pieces of like trying to make sure I'm playing against type. Like I never want to feel like I'm trying to be Liv Tyler and this, like no one can be, like she's literally a perfect creature. So to me it's like it's not even comparable. But no, I think that there's a piece of my art that comes from like all of the performances I've seen in my life that I love and think are brilliant.
So Junior was talking about me. I watched it.
That's amazing.
But one of the things that I love about horror is, you know, I always watch it and I'm like, I would never make that decision. I would never do that. But I'd love to know for you guys, like, how do you think you would handle being put in this situation?
Oof. I don't think I would. I'd be out of
I
there.
would tap out.
I would tap out. I'd be like, y'all are doing too much. Y'all can take me.
Take me away.
What about you?
I always think, I think I sell myself short in my head because I'm like, you know, I don't think I'd want to do that. I don't have any survival. Like, I would just throw it away. But I actually think, like, my survival instincts would kick in and I'd kind of, like, be a little badass.
Yeah.
That's what I actually think.
I think so, too.
They don't call me Lil Fighter for nothing, okay?
Yeah.
It's a real thing. They call me Lil Fighter. Just saying.